People think Daenerys lost her mind all on her own. They say power changed her. They say her thirst for the throne made her dangerous. But what if that was never the truth? What if the real reason she became the Mad Queen was because someone else was quietly controlling her, someone who never even stood beside her in battle? This theory says Bran Stark, the boy who could see the past, present, and future, made sure Daenerys would burn King's Landing. And it wasn't an accident. It was his plan from the very beginning. It started the day Bran became the three-eyed raven. He was no longer just Bran. He could see every choice, every event, and every path that the future could take. Most people believe he used this power to protect the realm. But power like that is dangerous. If Bran wanted the throne, he would never need to fight for it. All he had to do was move the right people like chess pieces. And the most important piece of all was Daenerys Targaryen. Far away in Essos, Daenerys was already winning hearts. She freed slaves, conquered cities, and raised dragons. People believed she was chosen by destiny. But maybe destiny was not random. Maybe Bran had been watching her even before she set sail for Westeros. With his power, Bran could send visions into people's dreams. He could whisper ideas into their minds without them knowing. What if all those moments Daenerys spoke about her destiny were not her own thoughts? What if Bran had been planting them from the start? Imagine this. Daenerys sees herself as the savior of the Seven Kingdoms, the one meant to break the wheel. Every time she doubts herself, a sudden feeling pushes her forward, telling her to fight harder, to take the throne no matter the cost. That feeling is not her own ambition, it's Bran's influence. But why would Bran want her to come to Westeros? Simple. She was powerful enough to destroy his enemies, but unstable enough for him to control. He didn't need her to rule forever. He only needed her to be the spark that would burn down the old order. When Daenerys landed in Westeros, she believed she was making her own choices. She believed meeting Jon Snow was fate. But Bran could have guided that meeting too. Remember, Bran was the one who told Jon about his true heritage. He knew that would shake Daenerys, make her insecure, and push her to extremes. Every move he made pulled her deeper into chaos. Bran never warned her about the traps ahead. He never told her how Cersei would use the people of King's Landing as shields. He never suggested a peaceful plan. Instead, he let her think the only way to win was through fire and blood. Even her closest allies started to doubt her. But the more isolated Daenerys became, the easier it was for Bran's whispers to take over. It was like a voice in the back of her mind telling her that mercy was weakness, that fear was the only way to rule. Some might ask, how could Bran control someone so far away? The answer is simple. The three-eyed raven's power has no distance. If he could speak to people across time, he could speak to people across the sea. Daenerys would never know the difference between her own thoughts and Bran's suggestions. The signs were there. Daenerys started making choices that went against her earlier values. She began to see everyone as a threat. Even Jon. Even Tyrion. Even the innocent people of King's Landing. These were not the decisions of the woman who once spared cities and protected the weak. These were the decisions of someone who had been twisted from the inside. Why would Bran do this? Because Daenerys could clear the board for him. She could destroy Cersei, eliminate most of the major lords, and leave the realm broken and desperate for new leadership. And when the smoke cleared, who would they turn to? The boy who never fought a war, who never burned a city, who always seemed calm and wise. Think about it. Bran's path to the throne required Daenerys to fail. But her failure had to be so big, so shocking, that no one would ever trust her again. The burning of King's Landing was perfect. It turned the people against her in a single day. And Jon Snow, who loved her, was left with no choice but to remove her. That too may have been Bran's plan. Some believe Bran could have even placed small visions in Jon's mind, making him see a future where Daenerys ruled as a tyrant. These visions would push Jon to betray her, no matter how much it hurt. And once Jon did the unthinkable, there was no one left to stand in Bran's way. By the time the dust settled, Daenerys was gone, Jon was disgraced, and the great houses were leaderless. All Bran had to do was sit quietly while others suggested his name. It looked like he never wanted power, but in truth he had shaped the entire game to end this way. If this theory is true, then Daenerys was never the Mad Queen. She was the perfect pawn. Every angry decision, every act of violence, every mistrustful glance was part of someone else's design. And that someone was the boy who sat in silence while the world burned. But here is the chilling part. If Bran could do this to Daenerys, what else has he done that no one knows about? How many leaders, kings, and queens were really making their own choices, and how many were just pieces on Bran's board? Daenerys may have died believing she lost control of herself. But maybe she never had control to begin with. Maybe from the moment she sailed for Westeros, her fate was already locked. Not by prophecy, not by her bloodline, but by the quiet mind of a boy who could see every ending and chose the one that put him on the throne. And if that's true, then Bran didn't just win the Game of Thrones. He wrote it. If Bran truly shaped Daenerys' fall, the question is how? How could he touch her thoughts without her knowing? How could a boy sitting in a chair in the north reach into the mind of a queen riding dragons in the south? The answer lies in what Bran became. The three-eyed raven was more than a man with visions. He was like a web that connected to every living thing, past and present. Ravens, trees, the air itself, these were his pathways. Daenerys did not need to stand in front of him for him to reach her. Every raven that circled her camp, every shadow that fell across her tent at night, could have been his eyes and ears. Every dream she had could have been shaped by his hand. Imagine Daenerys lying in her bed in Dragonstone. Her eyes close, but her mind drifts into a strange dream. She is flying over King's Landing, hearing the screams of the people, smelling the smoke. She sees herself on the throne, the city in ashes, but she feels no guilt, only peace. This dream stays with her when she wakes. She does not know it was Bran who placed it there. And it would not be just one dream. Little by little, over days and weeks, he could have fed her visions. Each one pushing her closer to believing that fear was stronger than love, that destruction was the only way to secure her rule. These thoughts would not come like commands. They would come like her own ideas, rising in her mind when she felt desperate. When she lost Yora, when she lost Missandei, when she saw Jon gaining the love of the people, the voice inside her grew sharper. This was the moment Bran's influence would have been strongest. He did not need to push her hard. He only had to tilt her thoughts slightly, knowing she would do the rest herself. There was one moment in the north that stands out. The first time Daenerys met Bran, she looked at him strangely. She could not read him. He said very little. But maybe in that short meeting he had already reached into her mind. Maybe he left a small mark there, a thread he could pull whenever he wished. Think of it like a door. Once opened, Bran could step through it again and again. He could be with her even when she was far away. He could be a whisper in the roar of her thoughts. Some believe this is why her anger grew so fast after the Battle of Winterfell. She had fought to save the North, but she felt no thanks. She saw people praising Jon more than her. The voice in her mind told her this was betrayal. It told her she could not trust anyone. This voice could have been Bran's, guiding her away from mercy. Even in the final hours before she burned the city, the choice may not have been truly hers. As the bells of surrender rang, she looked out over King's Landing. That was the perfect moment for Bran to plant the last vision. Maybe he showed her a future where the people she spared rose against her, where the lords plotted her death, where her dream of peace shattered. And maybe he showed her another vision. A vision where the city burned and no one dared defy her. Faced with those images, Daenerys made the choice Bran wanted. She unleashed the dragon. And once the first flames rose, there was no turning back. But Bran's plan did not end with the burning. He needed Jon to kill her. Without that, the realm might have united under her fear, and his chance at the throne would vanish. Jon was not easy to sway. But Bran knew Jon's honor could be turned against him. By giving Jon the truth about his birth, Bran planted a crack in his loyalty to Daenerys. And if Bran could reach Daenerys' mind, there is no reason to think he could not reach Jon's as well. A vision here. A warning there. Just enough to make Jon see her as a danger to the realm. When Jon went to her in the throne room, Daenerys saw him as her last hope. But maybe she also heard the same whisper in her mind that had been there for months. The one telling her she could trust no one. That whisper could have made her hesitate, just enough for Jon to act. Her death completed Bran's design. The greatest threat to his rule was gone, not by his hand, but by the hand of someone who loved her. That made him look innocent. That made people believe he had never wanted the throne at all. In the end, no one suspected him. No one looked at the quiet boy in the chair and saw the mastermind who had moved every piece of the game. To them, he was simply the one left standing after everyone else had fallen. But if this theory is true, then Daenerys never had a chance. From the moment she stepped into Westeros, her fate was not hers to decide. She was part of a story Bran had already seen and already chosen. Her victories, her losses, her final fire, they were not destiny. They were design. And the scariest thought of all? If Bran could shape her fall so perfectly, maybe the story of Westeros is still being written by his hand. Maybe every lord, every queen, every rebellion yet to come will dance to the same unseen strings. The game might not be over at all. It might just be Bran's game now. But what do you think? Was Bran the silent hero who saved the realm, or the most dangerous player to ever win the game? If you enjoyed diving into this twist on Game of Thrones, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more mind-bending theories, and ring the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. The game might be over, but the mysteries are far from done.